Good morning and welcome to the International Dialogue Series on Youth Engagement for Enhanced Climate Action and Resilient Food Systems, organized by SLYCAN Trust. The session today focuses on Kenya and is conducted in partnership with Amazon Theatrics Ensemble. A bit on what SLYCAN Trust is. We're a nonprofit think tank which focuses on climate change, sustainable development, ecosystem and biodiversity conservation, and social justice and animal welfare. In our work, we consider youth are a key stakeholder of the work which includes capacity building, research, awareness creation, and outreach and ground level action. Today's event is organized as a part of the dialogue series initiated by SLYCAN Trust in the lead up to the UN Food Systems Summit and COP26 of the UNFCCC, as well as the activities conducted under the Global Youth Forum on Climate Change, which is organized by SLYCAN Trust. SLYCAN Trust Global Youth Forum on Climate Change, which has been organized since 2016 and scaled up to an international event with over 70 countries participating, works with youth to find solutions to challenges faced related to climate change, food security, environmental conservation, and addressing disasters and climate risks. The forum provides an opportunity for the youth to engage in finding solutions which could be implemented across the world through participants guided by technical expertise of mentors supporting the process. This discussion series on climate change, food systems, and youth aims to engage youth to share their inputs on how climate action could be supported with youth engagement, as well as empower youth to be part of building resilience to climate change, as well as the resilience of food systems. This includes how we could ensure that everyone across the world have access to sufficient food, which are produced in a climate-friendly and sustainable manner through efficient participation of youth. The dialogue series aims also to identify key actions that could be taken to engage youth in activities related to sustainable and resilient food systems, climate action at local, national, and international level, as well as capacity building and engaging actively in climate change related processes. The inputs received from the discussion series will be compiled and shared with the United Nations Food Systems Summit 2021, as well as the key entities working on the relevant thematic areas. A knowledge product and outreach material will be developed to highlight the key asks of youth, whereby inclusive and youth-driven actions could be led to address climate resilience among youth. Additionally, the inputs received will be synthesized and published for reference by those who would be interested in understanding the key gaps and needs to be addressed, solutions proposed, and how youth could be a key actor in the process. Thank you again for your participation, and we look forward to an active session with rich discussions and your engagement in the activities which will follow the discussion as well. Thank you. Sanashia, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jami. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Martin, but there is some disturbance in your audio a bit. We can, there's just a slight disturbance, but that's okay. Well,
yes, we can proceed. I just wanted to notify you that Edwin is currently logged in and is already in. And I want to apologize for the delays and for the connection problems. We'll just go in straight to our program and invite Mr. Edwin Koga to take us through the introduction remarks for this session. So, Mr. Edwin, please, can you please take us through the introduction?
And food security. And ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a fruitful discussion, and let us work together as young people. Let us engage in ensuring food security in the informal settlements of Manyata, Nyalenda, and Obunga, so that we can engage the youth on climate change and food security. Thank you very much, Martin. Continue, and I say I welcome all of you to this dialogue session, and feel free. We'll share with you the findings after the dialogue session. Thank you very much to the SLYCAN Trust for supporting this and for putting this dialogue to be in order. Thank you very much, Martin. Pick it up.
Thank you, Mr. Edwin, for that introductory remarks. Allow me now at this juncture to invite Ms. Vosita. I hope I've pronounced.
Martin, it's Vasita here. I'm not moderating. Sinasha is handling. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Vasita. Martin, so as we said, Sajani provided the introductory remarks, so Vasita will not be speaking from our side. So we can now move on to the speakers that we have.
Yes, actually, thank you, Ms. Vasita. At this juncture, I would like to invite Mr. Job Omolo to take us through action 1, ensuring access to safe and nutritious food for all. Mr. Job, would please take us through the action track 1. Job, are you there?
Morning. So thank you very much. So let me take this opportunity to take you through the track 1. I'm Job Olwach from United Destiny Shapers. I want to take you through how we can ensure the safety in food and nutrition. First of all, I want to say that most of the youths currently have been engaged in food system and the climate change. When we talk on the safety part of it, we are trying to have the safer food through organic farming. It's going to do the organic farming to get the good food. Again, is also the storage of food can affect the safety of food. We should have the good storage after harvesting. We should have the good storage of the food. Secondly, is during the transportation, we can have the unsafe food for contamination on the road. So we should also taking care on how we are transporting our food. Another thing is about the timely. How do we, at what time do we consume this food? Is it timely? And also the storage of food is also very, very important for the safety of the food. Again, it's about the method of production. Are we using a lot of chemical in the food we are producing? So when we are looking for the food safety, we have the rules or the policy which are guiding the food poisoning and food safety for the community. So in a nutshell, we should have the organic farming, less use of the chemical, and good storage of food. Secondly, I'll talk about the nutrition part of it. The nutrition, we must have the knowledge of nutrition, how to have what's called the balanced diet food. Secondly, is about the availability. You cannot, if you cannot access the protein food, the nitrogen fixing food, you can be having a problem. So it is also important to have the availability for production of the food within the community. Another thing, I'll tackle the part of the challenges. The challenges which are affecting the youths on the food production. One is lack of financial. If you can have the financial institution which can support the youths in expansion of the agriculture. Another one is the capacity building. If the youths can be capacity built to have more knowledge on how they can do the new technology of farming. Finally, is about the groups to form the working groups. If they can have the working groups, it will be very easy to access the finance, also to be capacity built through the group. Finally, I want to tackle something on good practices on agriculture. The good practices, one should be organic farming. If people can be engaged in organic farming, we will not be having the food which is poison, we'll be having a food which is very safety. Secondly, it's about embracing the modern agriculture, the smart farming. We have new technology of improving the smart farming technology. Thirdly is integrated. If you can move to the integrated agriculture, when you are doing poultry, you can integrate it with the fish pond, you can integrate it with urban farming. And finally is agroforestry. For the climate, it's good to have the forest, and agroforestry is the backbone of the climate change. Otherwise, thank you. Have a good discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Job. I hope I'm still clear. I forgot, during this session, are going to use also spoken word. We have some videos that we are going to use. Actually, we use performing arts as a tool for advocacy and sensitization to communities. And therefore, before job session, we were supposed to have our first spoken word, but my apologies that we started before us putting the spoken words. Therefore, at this juncture, allow me to ask allow me to ask.
Yes,
we.
I've never really had a candid conversation with you. You see, I was scared. I was scared of how much you would react when I told you what was exactly in my heart. And so, 2 decades later, I am here with my voice to speak to you of the things you have done, the things you have said, the things you never did, the things you never said that really hurt our existence.
So today, I beg you to listen. For when we listen, we get to learn something new. But when we talk, we repeat ourselves of what we know. Since the Industrial Revolution, man has been obsessed with one ideology of building roads, ports, airports, you name it. But no one is talking about food. Even us youths, when we come to sit and talk, we only talk of the hottest chicks in town, the latest movies, the cutest boys around, the latest design. But do we care? Do we care or even talk about which food to grow in which season? Do we care or observe the different rainfall patterns? No, we don't.
So let us take time to reflect. We might not have the strength, the power, the money, the might, but we can have the will. And if we don't have the will, then we can reinvent the will. The will that makes the allure of agribusiness override the demand for the white-collar jobs. The will for the young people to engage in farming that creates a reverse migration pattern. The will for the youth enterprises to access low-interest loans that can enable them invest in farm models. The will that can turn ourselves from being a food-dependent society into being a food-productive society.
This is an action call, an altar call, an opportunity for youth to utilize technology through different digital platforms and innovation, such as artificial intelligence.
Therefore, this is my call.
This is my passion plea.
From me to you.
For the sake of a food-secure society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Titi and Paul with the spoken word. Titi and Paul are colleague actors at Amazon Theatrics Ensemble, and they have just presented a spoken word that was supposed to guide a job in his first session. And therefore, maybe at this juncture, we just have jobs up 2 minutes. Maybe you can comment on that spoken word in relation to the action part 1 that you just presented. So, hello, Joe.
Thank you very much. And I was saying that that spoken word was supposed to guide Job through the action track 1. So maybe Job, please take us through the action track 1 in relation to the spoken word that has just been played in the next 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. So Job, please take it over.
Thank you, Martin. Yes, thank you for the spoken word. From the spoken word, what I can say that it's very important to engage the youths in agriculture. And also, I've mentioned something on the teamwork. Youths will be coming together for them to get the services. Another thing, what I've received from the spoken word is about having the extension officers, the service providers to the youths who are in agriculture. It's also very important to engage the service providers, the extension officer, to improve the food security within the community. Finally, I can say it is good to go the organic way towards safer food for our community. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you very much, Job, for that session. At this juncture, we are now moving to action track 2, which is based on how to shift to sustainable consumption patterns. In this action track 2, we are going to look at how can sustainable consumption transform food systems to be resilient, ethical, and climate friendly. what is the role of youth in finding solutions for sustainable food production and distribution, and what are good practices and lessons learned for youth engagements towards sustainable consumption of food. And just like I had we are using spoken word as a tool for advocacy and sensitization. And therefore, at this juncture, I'll request Ashan to please share your screen and play for us our second spoken word that will guide us through the second discussion before I invite Mr. Roy Odawa to take us through. So Ashan, please kindly share your screen.
As the sun rises from the east, spreading from the birds of the air, the fish in the lake and the animals on land, including we humans, set up for one common goal: to provide for our families, to fend for our loved ones, and to put food on the table. There is something special about food. In it, we derive love, peace, joy, and laughter. In it, there is a very special sense of harmony that cannot be found in any other part of the world. Food is national security. Food is art. Food is craft. Food is anything when you think about it. The most unfortunate thing, however, is that despite our knowledge of this fact, we have understood the importance of food to national security and global well-being. Therefore, for us to save our planet, for us to lift people out of poverty, for us to advance economic growth, we must realize that all these goals are one and the same thing. We must connect the fight for climate change, youth empowerment, environmental conservation, and food security. In short, the solutions to one problem are solutions for all these problems. It is clear that agriculture done right is the best means that the whole world can use to simultaneously fight environmental degradation, food insecurity, and malnutrition. We, as a country, must therefore not ignore the very significant population of our country that is more than 2/3. As the world, we must invest in the talents and the energy of the youth. We must invest in their talents so that we secure a food secure society, a sustainable society, a society that embraces clean energy. And therefore, this is my pledge. I pledge that just as the cat cares for you, for food, for security, and for a place under the sun, I will care for my planet. I will grow food as an assurance of security, as an assurance of peace and health for global well-being for now and for generations to come. At Nyawada and Amazon.
Thank you very much. That was myself. I don't know whether to congratulate myself for that spoken word, but I hope that we have gotten something and we have gotten the message. And therefore, at this juncture, allow me to invite Mr. Roy Odawa to take us through Action Track 2, which is how to shift to sustainable consumption patterns. Mr. Roy, kindly take it over from here, please.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear
Hello.
you. Yes, we can.
Can hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Taking us to the second topic on shift to sustainable consumption patterns. Our question was, how can sustainable consumption transform food system to be resilient, ethical, and climate friendly? Well, we have to know first that sustainable food consumption promotes the physical health of the public, the economic health of farmers and producers, and also animals and our entire environment. One of the first things we have to follow is we have to promote local eating. This means that we have to buy food from our local communities. If you do this, you are contributing to our farmers' economy and also protecting our mother nature. The second one is to encourage. Okay, the second one, we should encourage cooking. When people have control over their own food, they can eliminate ingredients like sugar and fats. This turns creates a healthier public. The third one I want to talk about is for farmers to rotate the crop varieties. Well, apparently, if we, the farmers, continue doing one variety of plant each and every year, the same crop again and again, this eventually sucks the nutrients and out of the soil. Hence, they start using chemical and fertilizer to boost the fertility of our soil. We can change this by rotating crops every year. Maybe we do different varieties so that our soil cannot be degraded. Thank you. The second question was, what is the role of youth in finding solutions for sustainable food production and distribution? First, we have to increase global education on the healthiest and most sustainable option for people and environment. The second one is, as youth, we need to promote and sensitize the public on protection of good management of our water bodies. Well, we know that our water farming comprises of 70% we have to use water. And when our water is contaminated and not in a good condition, this means it will be contaminating our food. And that this brings us more diseases in the community. Third one is, we as youth have to engage in policy dialogue. As youth, we have to engage in the policy making of our society laws. We must also fully be in leadership, so as to enable us create rules that can enable farmers and the youth farmers to have a conducive environment for practicing farming. We are going to the practices and lessons learned from youth. No, the food distribution. On food distribution, the only thing that can affect food distribution is when we have political instability and war in our societies. And I've never seen old people going to war or creating political instability in the community. It is us, the youths, who do that. So if youth can be mature enough and knows how to protect the community through ideas and positive thinking, then we can destabilize the political instability and war in the community, and then we will have a fair distribution of food in our society, and things will just go as normal. The third question, what are the good practices and lessons learned from the youth engagement towards sustainable consumption and food production? Well, if youth are involved in food production, this means we are going to create employment for the youth. As youth, if we get involved, this means we are going to reduce the unemployment nature in our communities, and we are going to have abundant food for everyone. We must also, as youth, engage in massive production to create enough food for the society and even for export to entire nation. Thank you very much for the short presentation. Back to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Roy, for that presentation. Just a short reminder that for those of us who might be having questions for our presenters, just put them in the chat. We'll read them immediately after our presenters are done with their presentations. Thank you, Roy, for that. Let me call it a comprehensive coverage of Action Track 2. That is how to...
Martin.
5, though it's supposed to be Action Track 3, how to build resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stress. And the presenter who is going to take us through this session is Triza Mware. But just as I had said, allow me to invite Mr. Ashan to share his screen and play for us the third spoken word. And then we will proceed with our presentation. So Ashan, please kindly share your screen.
It just needs to be the right message. So today I invite you to join me in sitting, thinking, meditating, and reflecting about the times and seasons of modern security.
It is true when they say that food forms the central part of humanism. In food there is energy, there is laughter, there is joy, there is communion. In food there is some sense of belonging that never exists in any fantasy. You see, an average person is still somebody else's responsibility until
food security is not about the food. It's not in the government. It's not at the disaster management. Food security lies in the historical tradition of tilling the land, sowing the seeds, watering the seedlings at the right time. It is in the realization that man has to take important. It is the ultimate truth and the fact that until we youth step out of our comfort zones to pick up the blocks and until we youth embrace agriculture, until we youth integrate kitchen gardens into our households, until we youth turn to agribusiness as a source of our livelihood, until we youth realize the importance of technology, social media, and internet in marketing our locally produced food products, we shall forever be slaves to drought, hunger, famine, malnutrition, and employment. We shall be prisoners in prisons that we ourselves are built for ourselves through our resources.
that is why the wise men and women spoke and wrote in their books of knowledge that organic agriculture equals to the seed sovereignty, biological integrity, plus food security. At the end of all this, let us realize that food security is as important as national security. So let us promote urban agriculture and technology for a better, reliable society. For where there is no food,
there is no humanity.
Thank you very much. That was George Odiero and Mariana Mondi. Both of them are also actresses with us here at Amazon Theatrics Ensemble. And I want us to now use that spoken word to base our discussion on Action Track 5, building resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Teresa Mbare. I'm a community food activist in Nyalenda. I'm going to tackle Action 5, build resilience to vulnerability, shocks, and stresses among youths. The impact of food instability and uncertainty includes famine among the youths and the larger population, lack of nutrition, lack of proper nutrition by not having enough food or balanced diets. We have social unrest among youth, children, and the larger population in former settings. We also experience obstacles. We have so many obstacles that hinder us from engaging in food production. And these obstacles include land ownership. As we all know that most youth does not own their own lands. Most lands are owned by their parents and grandparents. And in order to use these lands, they have to seek permission from the real owners of the lands, and this demoralizes most youths. Another obstacle that we face is lack of enough funds or capital to invest in our production. Most youths are unable to generate new capital. They struggle to purchase supplies and to market their own products. When there is drought, there is increase of the price of the feeds in case of livestock farming. Other farming cost also increases, e.g. watering the plants, and this usually places financial and emotional pressure to the farmers, major youths. When there is flood, this affects agriculture too much rain, damage to the fields. Crops are being damaged after floods occur, and this demoralizes the farmer. Livestock can also be displaced, including fish and ponds. Then lack of funds. Most farmers are unable to generate new capital. and they struggle to purchase some supplies and market products in their. We are going to talk about the solutions to all these the problems that we face as youth. In order to find solutions to all these problems, youth should be capacity built on new technologies of farming and also encouraged to ensure farmers, in case of loss, they can be compensated. Youth are also encouraged to take part in policy making, which we rarely do. In most cases, youth are not involved in policy making process. We should also embrace modern agriculture techniques in order to increase our yields and income, and also to increase food security among the population.
Excuse me, Teresa, we can't hear you. You are breaking. We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me at all.
Now we can hear you clearly.
Hello?
So just go back. Just start afresh so that we can be able to understand what you are presenting. Thank you.
Okay. Are you hearing me now? Hello?
You are still. Hello, you are still breaking.
Hello?
We can hear you now.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. It's much better.
Is okay? Are you hearing me now?
Yes, now we can hear you clearly.
I'm going to tackle track 5. Build resilience to vulnerability, shocks, and stresses among youths. The impact of food instability and uncertainty includes famine, undernutrition. If I talk of undernutrition, I mean lack of proper nutrition by not having enough food among the population. Then we have social unrest among youth, children, and the larger population in informal settlements. If we talk about the obstacles that we face as youths, we have so many obstacles that hinder us from engaging in food production. And these obstacles include, one is land ownership. Most youth does not own their own lands. Most lands are owned by their parents and grandparents. And in order to use these lands, they have to seek permission from the real owners of the land. And this demoralizes most youth to engage in farming activities. The second obstacle is funds and capital. Most youths are unable to generate new capital, and they struggle to purchase supplies and to market their products on their own. Then we have calamities. Calamities like floods and droughts. When there is drought, there is increase of price of the feeds in case of livestock farming. And cost also increases the watering the plants, and also purchase of farm seeds. All these create financial and emotional pressure to the farmers. When the flood affects agriculture too much rain crops in the fields, crops cannot do well, and these also affect the farmers in one way or the other. Then we have solutions to these problems. What are the good practices based on land engagement, food system, and resilience? The solution to these problems: youths should be capacity built on new technologies of farming, and also encouraged to insure their farms in case of loss so that they can be compensated. Maybe if you insure your farm due to drought or flood, when you incur the loss, then you will be compensated with the insurance. Youth are also encouraged to take part in policy making. Majority of youth are not engaged in policy making process, and this usually hinders them. We also encourage youth to use modern agricultural techniques in order to increase their yields and income. And if all these are done, then we will increase food security among the larger population. Thank you very much for the short presentation. Back to our moderator.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Hello. Are you through, Teresa?
Yes, I'm through.
Yes, Martin. She has completed. Yes, Martin.
Okay. Hello, your audios are breaking. Can you get me clearly?
Martin, Teresa's completed. So,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Teresa, for that session. And maybe now that Teresa is done with the sessions the session.
Hi, Martin.
Yes.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. At this juncture, maybe may I ask if there is anyone with any question for the presenters before we break into to the group discussion? Oh, if there is no any question, I like to move direct to Ms. Bositha to take us through the group presentations for now.
Yes, Martin, just before we go to Bositha, so my name is Sanasha Ekanaika. I am part of SLYCAN Trust team.
Oh, sorry for the wrong pronunciation. Sorry.
That's fine, Martin. So just to let all of you all know, so as Sajani also mentioned earlier, we work at SLYCAN Trust. We've been conducting these national events here. We are joining in from Sri Lanka. And we have also had these sessions to kind of identify key areas for youth engagement in climate action, as well as to get youth involved in the discussion of food systems and climate change, as well as entry points when we want to scale up contributions to the food systems, the conversation of food systems. And also, I think to identify, we've been doing this here a lot here in Sri Lanka. We're trying to identify challenges, any barriers, gaps that prevent youth from engaging in the discussion and the dialogue, and trying to find solutions in which we can move forward. And as a primer to the open discussion that we are about to have, I would like to invite my Executive Director, Bositha Vijayanayaka, to also provide a few remarks that would probably help out with the discussion as well. Bositha?
Thank you, Sanasha. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Can hear you.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, thanks. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and to Amazon Theatrics for organizing this session with us. So SLYCAN Trust, as Sanasha mentioned, works with youth and also works on how youth could engage better in climate action, building climate resilience, and also inclusive and participatory food systems that could address the needs of food security across the world. So it's also, it's something I thought I should tell, that Kenya has been one of our priority countries in our work that we've been doing for a long time with Southern Voices on Adaptation, which is a collection of non-governmental organizations working on climate change. And we work with African countries through partnerships on national adaptation plans and climate action. So we worked in Uganda, we worked in Niger, which is a Francophone country, we worked in Malawi, Chad, so about 7 countries in the last 12 months or so, focusing on how climate action could be more inclusive and how we could support policy interventions across the sectors that focus on agriculture, as well as other adaptive capacity building efforts. So it's been great to work with you. We also have a youth program, which we have as a Global Youth Forum that Sajani mentioned. And we also have other interventions that we do in the lead up to COP26. So for those who are interested in engaging, please do write to us. We will keep you informed. And if you would like to have an independent dialogue like this, or be part of the climate change strategy development for youth engagement that we are doing. So one is happening in Ghana, the other one is happening in Niger. So there are these interventions that are, or like initiatives that are happening across the world with the leadership of youth who would like to be part of it. So if you're interested, do write to us, and Asha could share our email address. And we look forward to engaging with all of you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bosita. And Martin, before I give the floor screen back to you, I'm wondering if we can take a group picture with all those who are with us. So if your connection is good enough, please do turn on your cameras and we can take a few screenshots if that's okay. So we'll give it about a few seconds for everyone to turn on their cameras and if there's anyone else joining us who'd like to turn on their cameras, we could. Okay, so just keep smiling and we'll take some screenshots. Oh, we have some more. Great. Okay, fantastic. Just keep smiling really bright and we'll take the screenshots. Okay, I think I took enough. So thanks very much, Martin. Over to you with the group work, with the group discussion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And at this juncture, for the group discussion, I will now open the forum for any of the members who might be having a question on our presentations to our presenters. Please feel free to ask them right now. Is there any member with a question? Yes, if you have a question, kindly just raise up your hand. We'll see you, and then we'll unmute you so that you ask your question.
Martin, sorry, just a quick suggestion. In case we don't get any questions, I'm wondering we can perhaps look at the questions that we want to discuss also. I believe we will. My colleague Ashan will maybe share the screen right now, and we can maybe look at some of the questions that we hope to discuss. Would that be okay, Martin?
Yes, I think that will be okay. It will be very okay. So I think everyone is seeing that screen. So I think we can work with that. So actually, we have the first question. We have the first question. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. We have the first question. What are the challenges for ensuring safe and nutritious food for all? Are there specific challenges in informal settlements? I can see Mr. Ashan is ready to make some presentations based on that.
No, actually, Martin, just to let you know, so we will maybe, Ashan is shared the screen, so we can maybe open the discussion. We have, I think, 26 participants who have joined us. So maybe we could start off with some input from those who are on the call with us. If that's, yeah, would that work?
Yeah, that one will work. So we let us open the session. I hope everyone is seeing the action track 1 and the question 1. What are the challenges for ensuring safe and nutritious food for all? Are there any specific challenges in informal settlements? So for us, actually for us members who also come from informal settlements, feel free to give in your presentation based on that question. Are there any specific challenges in informal settlements in terms of ensuring safe and nutritious food for all? The session is on. Anyone who wants to go first?
Hello?
Hello?
We can hear you, Roy.
Yes. Part of the challenges we have in informal settlement are the contaminated water bodies. Most of the informal settlement in the countries don't have the proper sewer system, so most of the sewer system are directed to our rivers. This contaminates the water bodies, and then the same water we are using to irrigate our plants and crops. I think this creates unhealthy food for the community now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can see Polycarp's hand.
Hello, good morning,
is also
everyone.
Up, Polycarp.
Yes, thank you very much.
Good morning.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so another challenge is that most of the community members in informal sector do not understand like the balanced diet. You ask them, why are you even taking this? They don't understand. Provided that their stomach is filled, then that is their main problem. So they don't understand nutrition. So that's a very huge gap, which needs to be addressed in terms of educating them on the balanced diet and also nutrition in general. Another challenge is about sanitation, water and sanitation. In most of these informal settlements, there's poor sanitation, and also water is an issue. So you realize that however much they are taking good food or good meals, but then the water that they are drinking is not really safe for their health. So that is also a huge gap. Thank you. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Polycarp. We have some Peter from United Destiny. Peter.
Okay. Yes. Good morning, everyone. My first point, I think I wanted to say that in the urban setups, where most of the challenges that we also face is the unknown source of food we consume. Mostly, if you go to our markets locally, I think most of them, the way where those food come from is unknown. They can't trace the source of the food that we eat, which means that we can eat something that is not healthy for our lives. So that one is the fear that we can't trace. The traceability of the source of our food is a problem. Another one is also market contamination. If you look at the markets around and where we sell our food products, I think it's somehow there are a lot of contamination that end up in our foods that we eat. So this is also a big challenge that our markets are not best placed. Some of them are at roadsides. If we find somebody placing food that we eat on the road, along the drainage system. So if you wonder what kind of food we consume, but that's what we have, and we have just to use it because that's what we have around. Again, also we have lack of demonstration plots, a demonstration of the kind of production we should have. If you maybe like I can sample the space that we have in the urban setup they are very small, and some of us also doesn't have at all. The space is not there at all for personal production or private production of food, so they are forced to go and get their whatever they consume from the market. So and then the knowledge on how to produce the best food or how to produce food that can really we can talk about healthy food. Production of healthy food is a challenge, and that knowledge is not there at all. So I think those are some of my points. Maybe I'll hand back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. I think the last presenter, the last person for this session may be Teresa. Teresa, I can see your hand is up. Kindly give us your reflections. Hello, Teresa, can you hear us? Teresa, kindly unmute. I saw your hand is up.
Hi, Teresa. We are unable to hear you. Hi, Teresa. Sorry, I don't think we can hear you.
Yes, actually, we are not getting Teresa. So we can. I have a suggestion. Maybe Teresa, now that.
Teresa, maybe you can type it in the chat if that's okay. Hi, Teresa. Sorry, we can't hear you. If it's possible, are you able to type your intervention in the chat? Sorry, Teresa, just to jump in, we are unable to hear you. Can you type in what you wanted to say on the chat, and we can copy it onto the document? I think that should work, Martin, right?
Yes, I think that is a great suggestion. And because of time, please let us move to question 2. How can youth contribute to sustainable and resilient food systems? What are youth-driven solutions to ensure accessible, affordable, and nutritious food for all? Yes, how can youth contribute to sustainable and resilient food system? I think this is a very good question now that we are also focusing on youth in terms of food security. So who feels like he should go first in terms of this question?
Yes, thank you. How can youth contribute to a sustainable and resilient food system? And what can youth-driven solution to ensure accessible and affordable and nutritious food? First of all, I think the youth should be capacitated to have more knowledge, because we know knowledge is power. That's one. 2, involvement of the extension officers. If you can have the service providers from the Ministry of Agriculture to come and capacity build the youths. So involvement of the service providers, who are the extension officers. 2 is about the fund. If you can link the youth to the financial institution or agricultural fund to expand the farming or the production, I think is also very important. Then finally, when the youth can come as a team to form the working group as farmers, it's always also very easy to work as a group, but than an individual. Yes.
Yes, Patrick. Thank you very much, Mr. Job, for those insightful opinions on how youth can contribute to sustainable and resilient food systems. Can we have a second presenter before we move on to the next question? Anybody who feels like he has an opinion? Well, if we don't have one because of time, allow me now to move to question 3. What are good practices and lessons learned for youth engagement in food systems? Yes, what are the good practices and lessons that we have learned for youth engagement in food systems? It is an open session, so feel free to give us your opinions in terms of your responses. Anyone who wants to go first for question 3 of action track 1? What are the good practices and lessons learned for youth engagement in food systems?
Okay, I think what I've learned from this is that we need to work together. We cannot work in isolation. And one of the participants also suggested that there is need to have a working group. So maybe we can talk of having clusters within both informal and formal settlements, because we do not have a one-size-fits-all approach in tackling these food security. So we need the technical persons, these experts, and we also need those from these informal settlements and the youth in general in order for us to achieve this. So when we have these clusters, then we can be able to have a working group, then be able to discuss the challenges, then come up with solutions to address these. So the most important thing that I've learned is that we cannot do it alone. We need to work, we need to collaborate and partner with different stakeholders, with different experts, and also with youth in general, for us to have a solution to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Polycarp. Just a reminder, if you feel you want to give a contribution to any of these questions, please raise your hand. I hope you know where you can raise your hand from. It's somewhere around the chat areas sections. So that is it. Anyone who wants to give a second response in terms of the lessons that we have learned for
Martin, sorry, just to come in to let all of those who are contributing on the chat to know that we are making note of it and incorporating it into the document as well. So thank you for your contribution on the chat. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you to those of us who are contributing on the chat box. If you feel you can't make live contribution, you can also drop it on the chat. You can see it's going to be added on the document. Having said that, please allow me to move to action track 2, shifting to sustainable consumption patterns. We have the first question there. How can sustainable consumption transform food systems to be resilient, ethical, and climate friendly? I think this is also a great area. We are talking about sustainable consumption. How can sustainable consumption transform food systems to be resilient, ethical, and climate friendly? Anyone who feels like wants to make a live contribution, kindly, you're free to move as at now. Allow me to say that this was an open session, so we are not restricting anyone in terms of, we are not restricting anyone in terms of bringing responses. So feel free to give us your contributions. We are talking about action track 2, and the first question is, how can sustainable consumption transform food system to be resilient, ethical, and friendly? Any comments on that? Anyone who wants to go live, please take it over as at now. I'm not seeing any questions raised, so please, you can also unmute if you feel you want to give presentations on that, so we can proceed.
Martin, sorry, just to come in, sorry, I'm not from the African continent, but also from the global south here in Sri Lanka. So some of because we've also been having these discussions here in Sri Lanka at national level, when we talk about these things, I think one of the, especially when it comes to sustainable consumption and consumption behavior or consumption in general, I think building awareness on what sustainable consumption is, awareness around sustainable consumption patterns, as well as trying to see how best this can be incorporated into the education system, especially those who are children and who are still formulating their behavior and consumption patterns. That is something that we have had during our discussions. I'm not sure if that would be relevant to you, but thought I would like to share that in case anyone would want to contribute. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you. At least we have had a break. We have shifted and seen our colleagues outside the African continent from Sri Lanka. Is that correct? Yes. How they are also using sustainable consumption to contribute to sustainable consumption patterns. Any other comments? I can also see people drop. Someone has also dropped. It's Joe J Otieno 99 at Gmail. That is Julius Otieno. He's saying lessons learned at UDS, bringing youth groups together in partnership with the county government and the Ministry of Agriculture has seen a lot of attitude change for the youth towards farming. Julius Otieno also says the challenge in nutrition is that slum dwellers have no options or choices on foods to consume. They eat what they can afford. I think these also are really important statements to note that nutrition is a big challenge in terms of people living in slums or informal settlements. They don't have an option or choice on foods they consume. They just eat what they can afford. If they don't have, they also stay. I can see Peter. Peter's hand is up. So kindly, Peter, take it over. What are your reflections in terms of question 1?
Okay, yes, thank you. I think I wanted to say that when I hear of sustainable consumption, I believe that this is a kind of consumption that take care of various various foods, and I think it's like a balanced diet and something that is there consistently. Connecting this with resilient and ethical and climate friendly, I think sustainable consumption will go in hand with production. And when we practice production, I think we are kind of giving a platform for others also to learn from what we do. They also get to know what kind of food that each and every person that live within the community likes taking. So it will like taking care of other ethnical groups. I think as in the city, like in Kisumu, we are in a metropolitan kind of setup where we have different ethical groups living in the same. And I think through sustainable consumption, we'll be able to produce the relevant food for the population that we have around. Second one, I think also on ethical, I think it will bring the community together. When everyone feels that they are taken care of within the community on terms of food production, then they can live harmoniously within the community. This will bring cohesion. I think it's a bond. It's kind of a bond. Cohesion will go high. We'll have people at least understanding each other better, because we'll be interacting in the market and during when we want to get our food from there. And also find climate friendly. When I'm connecting this in with the climate friendly, I think carbon absorption in the air depends on what we produce, because these plants, there are a number of like agroforestry kind of farming embraces the some level of carbon absorption within the atmosphere. So when we continue producing, I think we are eliminating some kind of carbon within the environment. And I think sustainable when we are doing this sustainably, when we are eating, consuming sustainably, which means we are also producing sustainably. So it means the two go hand in hand, and we are able to reduce the global warming that currently is the talk of the day. So I thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for those insights. I think those were very good comments about how we can shift to sustainable consumption patterns. Allow me to quickly move to question 2. The role of youth in finding solutions for sustainable food production and distribution. I think sustainable food production and distribution is also something that is very important, because for us to ensure that there is food security, these foods must be produced and they must be distributed. Let us look at what is our role as youth in finding solutions for sustainable food production and distribution. Just like I had said, if you feel you want to make some comments, kindly just raise your hand. We'll select you. You're also free to drop your responses at the chats. It will be recorded. So anyone who feels he has some responses for question 2, please feel free to give us your opinion on what is the role of youth in finding solutions for sustainable food production and distribution. Who wants to go first? Personally, I also feel like that I have some comments also to give on question 2. The role of youth in finding solutions for sustainable food production and distribution. In terms of food production, I think youths should really invest in what I call, we have things like kitchen gardens and farm models within their households, within their homes, so that at least they grow food products, so that they reduce the dependency on one supplier that can create something like a monopoly that can be very detrimental. So I think small-scale farming, in terms of using kitchen gardens and farm models, is something that is very key. I also think that in the aspect of distribution, the youths can in Kenya can access the low interest loans from the banks and the credit facilities, so that they develop small and medium enterprises that can enable them get their farm produce from the farms to the markets, so that they can reach the consumers. So I think this is an area that is really lacking. It has been blank for a very long time, and youths can capitalize on them. And youths, I also think that we should shift our focus from depending on these white collar jobs, so that we engage in more farming, in more agriculture. We do more research, we attend more lessons, so that we get enough skills that can enable us produce foods, that can enable us produce foods for consumption at our own individual level, and even the general market. Having said that, I also see there are two hands up. There is Polycarp and Joan. So I think let me start with Polycarp. What are your insights on this?
Thank you very much. I think as youth, we are at least in a position to get the knowledge or the know-how in terms of tackling these issues, the food security issues. So it's upon us to even educate the mama mboga at the grassroots level, or even that youth who is not educated, who doesn't have this information at the grassroots level, to give them this information and to also hold them. Let us not just get the information and sit on this information. Let's have the information and share with others who are in need of this information, so that they can be able to change life and have creating an enabling environment. Then, besides that, we are also supposed to hold our government accountable. We have the Ministry of Youth, and they have money for youth, and they always tell us that a lot of money is taken back to the treasury. So it's upon us with these groups, with these enterprises, to try and demand. It's our right, it's our money. We pay taxes, and we are entitled to have this money for our development. So we are supposed to find out how we can be able to apply for these loans or even for these grants, and improve our livelihood in terms of farming. And then the world is also changing, and we've seen technology taking space. So we also need to know to do things in the old ways. So even if we have youths who are doing farming and they need to sell their products, how best can you be able to use technology for you to even sell your products? Because I was in another meeting, and youths were really, really crying that they have a lot of, their crops go bad. They don't know where to sell these crops. And when we were doing our assessment, we realized that they were still using the old ways, waiting for customers to come and pick them from the farms. So you see, the world is changing, and it's changing very fast. So should we change? So those are some of the things that as youth, if we embrace, then we are going to be up to the technology and to the current development. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Polycarp. Thank you, Polycarp, for that input. Thank you for that insight. I saw Joan's hand up. He has since lowered his hand. I don't know what has happened. Joan, do you have an input on this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. I think I have a small input on the question that you just asked. So what I can say is that the role of youths, as youths, we need to hold each other's hands. The way youths come together when they want to organize birthday parties, the way youths come together when they want to do their things. This is how, this is not the direction we should go with when it comes to sustainable food systems. You see, another thing, the youths, we have knowledge everywhere. We have knowledge in the internet. We can always watch videos, and we can always watch videos, these tutorial videos that are always posted on the internet, instead of just using the internet and other ways like watching movies or just doing other things. Like, you find that you can use more, you can like gather more information. Like, there is TikTok, there is those other social media sites. So I think as youths, we should use it to like gain more knowledge, and also to network. You know, those sites are not just there for fun and for popularity. There's also networking, and I feel another role of youth, because we are the biggest population that uses social media, and other these, yeah, we are the big population that are more, let's say, we know more about technology. So I think we should use that as our strengths in making sure that that is achieved. Thank you, Martin. That is all I have.
Thank you very much, Joan Sarodi, for that insight in terms of how youths can contribute to sustainable youth patterns. Christine Wambua has also said in the chat that youths are best placed to embrace modern farming techniques, which do not require large chunks of land to produce food items like vertical gardens, cone gardens, etc., etc. Thank you very much, Christine. I think that is also an idea that has been really lacking in terms of how youths can really contribute to ensuring there is sustainable food production. I think let us move now to question 3. What are the good lessons that we have learned for youth engagements towards sustainable consumption and food production? Have we learned any lessons in terms of how youths can engage themselves towards sustainable food production? Anyone who wants to go first of the lessons that we have learned? Any input on the lessons that we have learned?
I think, sorry, again, I'm from Sri Lanka, but I think some of these issues can also, they're not really country specific. I think one thing would be, as we always discuss, is to reduce food waste, or like to try and, when we are looking at, say, from production all the way up until consumption, to try and see where food waste or, say, post-harvest loss, how that can be reduced. And I'm sure that's also still relevant in Kenya as well. And I think what the previous speaker also mentioned about how youth being at the forefront of kind of acquiring all of this knowledge and being easily able to adapt to technology, and using that as a tool in order to move forward in pioneering this, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that insight. For me, the greatest lessons that the greatest lesson that I've learned is that youths should engage in farm models or farming practices that do not take up huge chunks of land, because actually that is one of the allow me to call it excuse. Hope it is not going to be offensive. That is one of the excuses that youth have been using to try and evade the topic of engaging in food production, that they don't have the adequate land. And I think technology and creativity and innovation has really provided a great avenue for us to do farming practices that do not engage in using huge chunks of land. Christine Wambua has just talked about vertical gardens and cone gardens. We have kitchen gardens, things like that. I think those are really good practices that as youths we can really engage in, so that we ensure that we have sustainable food production, so that we can ensure that there is food security for all. That is a great lesson that I've learned on my side. And I don't think I am closing anyone out. Is there anyone I'm leaving out before we move on to action track 5?
I think we can move forward, Martin.
Yes, thank you very much. Now let us move to action track 5, which is now I can see Julius Otieno is also talking about up to 50 youths under UDS are practicing urban farming and earning their livelihoods from it and in an urban slum. This is so powerful. I think, thank you very much, UDS. That is a very great initiative that we have up to 50 youths under UDS that are practicing urban farming and earning their livelihoods from it in an urban slum. So I think urban farming is also one of the great lessons that we are learning from this. So let us move to action track 5, building resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stress. How do instability and uncertainty in food systems impact youth? I think this is an area that we should really delve in, and I hope we are going to give our insights on this. That how do instability and uncertainty in food systems impact youth? What are the obstacles for youth engagement? I hope that all of us are really noticing that these questions and these engagements are really focusing on youth. So youths, what are some of the obstacles that we are seeing that are really hindering us from engaging? Like how does instability and uncertainty in food systems impact us as youths? Anyone who wants to go first? We can look at instability in very many ways. We can look at that political instability, there is economic instability, there is social instability. So how does these instabilities affect instabilities and uncertainties in food system impact our youths? I think the question is really focusing on instability and uncertainty in food systems. So let us concentrate on that. Peter from UDS CBO's hand is up. Peter, kindly go and give us your opinion.
Thank you. Again, I think generally youths have been looking into this sector as one of the sector that can improve their livelihood. But again, it has been faced with a lot of uncertainties and instabilities regarding the climatic change. I think the climate change has really brought a very big impact on how we carry out agriculture currently, because we are never sure at what time the rain will come, given that before we knew that when it reaches March, we automatically start the long rain season. Then when it reaches September, we again start the short rain or the short rainy season, where we start planting our crops. But today, it's really fluctuating and it's never regular as it was before. Secondly, I think the market instability. I think I can't say generally that this is a challenge that is there, but we have market. But youths have not organized themselves into well-organized groups which they can access stable market. We have tenders in schools, but because youths are not in team, are not working as a team, everybody pursuing their own errands and looking for their own personal markets, it's very difficult for them to get these markets at the best way that we think it should. Then another thing is the political goodwill. I think policies guiding the agriculture are made from political wings, and generally most of our politicians have never taken agriculture seriously, because it is a sector that doesn't look so lucrative to them, because majority of tenders, majority of allocation of funding, if you look even at how the allocation is done financially, even in the country, agriculture gets a small amount, and that's the sector again that is very easy for the government to change their decisions and take the money there and use it elsewhere. So it means that it is never given priority. So political goodwill is not there, and that leads to low financial allocation for this sector. Again, I can say the attitude, the attitude of youth towards agriculture and the culture that we were brought up in. I can say in our region, we've not been practicing agriculture so much, to an extent that even the children who are born are not growing up understanding what is the importance of agriculture. They believe you buy food from the market. So the culture that we are brought up in doesn't allow us to develop the mentality of agriculture. So this one is also bringing a lot of problem to us. Then the financial support. I think financial institution like banks, the finance access to youth is very difficult. And again, that one is linked to an organized system of youth where we can't manage to access some of this finance, like youth funds. There are a lot of funds put somewhere to support youth in developing their ideas, but accessing it becomes very difficult. It needs a lot of things to be put in place before you access such. They need a lot of number of guarantors. They look at the financial background of which you've not started even. So bank statement, when you look for bank statement from youth who has never involved himself in anything, where will you get that bank statement? So conditions put for this kind of supports becomes very difficult for youth to access the same financial supports. Otherwise, thank you. Back to you.
Very much, Peter. Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for those insights. I think those are really good opinions. I also think that one of the obstacles for youth engagement in farming is the education system that we have. I'm still on question 1. We have an education system that produces food-dependent individuals instead of food-productive individuals. The education system has really overemphasized on the other professions that are really not productive, and I think that is also one of the obstacles. So moving forward, we need also to change our education system so that we change the perceptions of our children, the perceptions of our youth towards engaging more in agriculture. Otherwise, thank you very much. We can move to question 2. How can youth contribute to solutions to make food systems more resilient against shocks and stresses? Yes, how can we as youths contribute to solutions to make food systems more resilient against shocks and stresses? I think this is also a good opportunity for each and every youth on this platform. Let us be free, let us open up and give our comments on how we can contribute to solutions that can make food more resilient against shocks and stresses. I can see Mongina Roda's hand is up. Thank you, Mongina, for joining the discussion. Let us listen and hear from you as from now. Please take it over. Hello, Rhoda, can you hear us?
Hi, sorry, I was trying to unmute.
Oh, thank you. Kindly take it over.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry I joined in late, but I think I can pick up the conversation. The youth have a platform, mostly when it comes to contributing to food solutions. And I believe they have a very big chance of doing something in the agriculture sector more. Youth should take up roles in terms of finding out what the agriculture sector has to offer. You will find that 75% of our youths are always engaged in social media, but none of them has that interest of doing a research on what is happening in the agriculture sector. So if first and foremost, if they can take up the role of trying to know what is happening in the agriculture sector through social media, through the platforms that the Ministry of Agriculture has introduced, then they can learn a lot. That's one. Two, there is the tendency of having the mentality of, if you have to get into food systems in, let's say in Kisumu, somebody will ask you like, I don't have a farm to do the same. But they don't realize that there are so many opportunities in that sector that needs to be filled, like transportation of food from one place to another, and even selling the foodstuffs themselves at the end of the day. But now when you look at it from the perspective of financially, you'll find that most of them are complaining that they don't have money. And they also have a role to play in terms of how do they the consumption. You'll find that most of our youths don't take time to look at their consumption level. You'll find that they don't take time to understand that how they consume from one side does not directly impact on how the other people consume in that area. I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you very much, Rhoda, for those insights. I really want to appreciate that you've really come out to comment on that. Musa Ondu, your hand is up. Thank you for joining the conversation. Please take it over from now.
Hi, Musa. Can you hear us?
Very much. I'm Musa Ondu.
Thank you. Thank you. Continue. We are getting you.
Okay. Okay. So my colleague has just talked about the youths being the bigger number in the social media. I think these youths, we can contribute by doing the sensitization and awareness creation through the social media platforms, because we realize that most people in today's world are just on social media. Youths can just do the awareness creation security, and this can really help move on. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Musa. I think you have brought out an issue that is really pertinent and very important tool that we can use for sensitization and advocacy, so that we bring a lot of youths on board using social media. I think we realize that a lot of people are moving virtual, especially youths, and the COVID-19 pandemic has also taken a lot of things online. So I think the use of social media as a tool for advocacy and also as a tool for, let me say, marketing our food products can really work effectively for us as youth, so that we can contribute to food systems that are more resilient against shocks and stresses. I think that youths can also really consult more on agricultural extension officers and let me call them experienced farmers. I don't know how that is going to fare on with you, but there are people who have been doing this before, and I think youths can also be free and open to learn from agricultural extension officers who are government officers that are being paid by taxpayer money to do this work. So we can tap into that space and get the necessary skills, the technical skills and the know-how of how we can do more productive agriculture for food production. That is also one of the ways that the youths can use to contribute to food systems that are more resilient against shocks and stresses. But I really like the idea of social media. Allow me to move to question 3. What are good practices and lessons learned for youth engagement in food systems and resilience building? We have been having this discussion since at around 10. Allow me now to ask us, what are the lessons and the practices that we have learned in terms of youth engagement in food systems and resilient building? what are the major lessons that we have learned from these discussions so far? Anyone who wants to go first? Yes, we are looking at practices and lessons that have been learned for youth engagement in food systems and resilience building. On myself, I can say that I have learned that it is really important for youths to work towards accessing finance from the credit facilities and government sponsored loans, so that we practice more agriculture and more farming. I have learned that we should take the message to social media as a tool for awareness creation and advocacy, and also as a tool to market our food products. I have learned that we should change our perception and attitude as youths in terms of that are more resilient. So those are some of the lessons that I've learned, and maybe let us hear more input from any of us in these sessions today. That so far, what are the lessons that we have learned in terms of creating, in terms of youth engagement in food systems and resilience building? Anyone with any other inputs? With your name, but you're saying that I have learned how to use my social media to be productive. I think every one of us is agreeing that social media is very important, but only if we use it in the correct and in the right way. So thank you very much, Technospark 6. I really wish that you'll have given us your official name so that we stop identifying you with that. But I think you've given a very important note that you've learned that social media can be a very great tool that we can use in terms of getting the message out there and marketing our products. Julius Otieno is saying that the lessons learned is that youths are really making a difference in food systems and climate change. There are several practical examples from the slums that we can share with the forum from Nyalenda. I think we have a lot of participants in this session who come from Nyalenda and from UDS. And they have really shared with us how they are really working towards building food resilience through engaging youths to practice urban agriculture that had been contributed earlier when they were talking about 50 youths who are doing urban agriculture in the slums of Nyalenda. So that is also one of the things that I have learned, that it is really possible that as youths we can engage in urban agriculture. It is really possible that we can focus all our energy towards producing food, irrespective of our locations, whether we are coming from urban areas, whether we are coming from informal settlements, whether we are coming from rural settlements, irrespective of whether we have land or not, we can still practice agriculture, we can still grow food, we can still ensure that there is food resilience. Any other person who has learned anything that needs to be mentioned, you are free to give us your comments before I hand it over to the team of Mr. Hassan and the colleagues from SLYCAN Trust.
Would anyone like to make any closing remarks on this question? We can, I think, yeah, we could leave it open for about 2 minutes if anyone has anything else to add. Perhaps not, but so thank you very much to all those who actively engaged with us and who gave their time and also their knowledge in bringing this discussion to life. So thank you very much. And also thank you very much to Amazon Theatrics Ensemble for giving us the opportunity to take this discussion to Kenya as well. I think what's really refreshing to know is that a lot of these issues that we discussed it's refreshing to know that we are not in isolation. We talk a lot about working together, and we talk a lot about sharing experiences, but it's also good to know that from different parts of the world, some of the issues that we face in relation to food systems are actually very much the same. So our ability to also develop solutions that can be applied across the board can also be looked into. And thank you again for, I think someone also, Julius also mentioned in the chat, for using performing arts as a tool it's a first for us, and I think it's very effective. We hope to look into this in future as well. So that was fantastic. Just to maybe add some remarks on how we move forward from here on the sustainability of this discussion. So like we spoke to the team at Amazon Theatrics, it's not a one-off discussion. So this is part of a series of discussions that we're having. We're having one in India next week as well. And I think as a result of virtual platforms, we are able to have more of these as well. So we are having this discussion in India as well. We're gathering input from there. So it will be fed in to the inclusion of youth will be fed into this, to the food system summit when we submit our report and our discussion findings. So your discussion here has been very valuable to all of us. So thank you. And I think once this is over, we will be getting in touch with Edwin, Martin, and the team to see how best we move forward from here as well. So it's not a one-time engagement. Perhaps this will be the first of a few to come. So I think with that, I guess we can close, Martin.
Yes, at this juncture, maybe allow me to invite Mr. Edwin, our director at Amazon Theatrics Ensemble, to give us some closing remarks before we finish. Mr. Edwin, kindly, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, Edwin.
Hi, Edwin, we're not getting you, please.
Edwin, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
I'm saying thank you very much. There's wonderful conversation to be. I thank the Roy and Teresa and all the participants who made it to this dialogue for it to be a success. I think this is for our first step, and we will continue working together towards climate change and food security. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edwin, for those closing remarks. I want to take this opportunity. I can see Peter's hand is up. Peter, kindly, just 2 minutes.
Hey, I'm Polycarp, not Peter. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I just want to appreciate this team for giving us this opportunity to have this dialogue. In the beginning, it was a bit hectic, but at least we ended well. So thank you very much. I'm just concerned, team from Kenya, who are the co-host, concerning the logistics, our data. Are you going to reimburse the data?
Mr. Edwin, kindly come in on that.
Okay, that one I didn't get you well, Polycarp, but I think I will. I will discuss that with the team and we get it.
Yes, thank you very much, Edwin, for that. At this juncture, I also want to thank the SLYCAN team and all of the participants who joined, our partners from United Destiny Shepherds in Nyalenda, Amazon Theatrics Ensemble, likes of Mr. Musa Ondu and your team, Roy Odawa, Teresa Mware, and Job Olwatch, people like Christine Wambua, thank you, Helen, thank you, Senashia and Ashan. Thank you, Francis Ochieng and Ashalani. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Ruani, De Silva, and all the other team. If I've not mentioned your name, I apologize, but thank you really very much for finding time to join and have this discussion. As our colleagues from SLYCAN have said, it is the first in many more conversations that we'll be having towards ensuring that there is food security, especially. Bye for now. See you next time, a time like this, in a session to engage more of how we can provide food, ensure food security in our society. So bye. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I see you. God bless you.